Welcome visionaries, dreamers, and trailblazers to the Casually Ambitious podcast. I'm your host, Chase Price, and I am thrilled to embark on this journey with you. Here, we dive deep into the realms of wellness, entrepreneurship, and mindset. Let's build a life we love while loving the life we live. The adventure to a more mindful, purposeful, and casually ambitious life starts now. How we doing, brother? I just warmed up for the pod by watching the YouTube video, man. I'm fired the fuck up. Let's go.
And I'm good, man. I appreciate that too. I just saw your the comment come in, but no, I'm good, man. Good. About 3-ish weeks out, a little over 3 weeks out from it. Dude, it was and I know it was crazy, man. It was wild.
Yeah. Well, I feel like now is such an awesome time to sit down with you because there's so much going on. Like you just finished Last Man Standing. You're running Chicago next month. You just fucking Boston qualified. Congratulations on that, man. You getting into Boston for 25, which I'm sure you're thrilled about. I think we've linked up maybe a year or so ago, just kind of following each other's journey. Hybrid athlete, runner type style. You're a one-on-one coach as well. You have people in your cohort and things like that. Are you based in Jersey?
Yeah.
Okay, because I remember I was up in the city and you were like, "How long you up here?" Didn't end up happening, and then you came down to Charlotte, I think, and we tried to link up. Then didn't end up happening. Do you have your business partner lives in Charlotte? Is that right?
Yeah. He lives. I forget the complex, but it's right in Charlotte. It's he's actually he's the manager of Sycamore Brewery.
Yeah.
So he's the manager of that.
Okay, I've probably met him before in passing, to be honest.
Probably.
Yeah.
He
that used to be the spot.
I'm going down, I think October 20th, if I'm not mistaken. That's when we're doing our next hat drop. So I'm going to go down there for that. And maybe we could link up this time. But it's always a quick trip, Absolutely. Though. That's the thing. I'm usually there literally just for like a Saturday, Sunday, then come home. So it's tough because I know you got your schedule and everything too. So we'll see, though. But I will be down there, I think, in a month from now.
Okay, cool, man. Yeah. Hopefully I'm doing some running by then. We can get some miles in. Let's start with you getting a lot of miles in. I think we should probably start with the one you just finished up, which, as I said, I just watched the YouTube video, had chills, got fired up, almost shed some tears. Like it was a roller coaster ride. So talk to me a little bit about this race. Obviously, I just watched the recap, but I'd love to hear it from your perspective. And you kind of walk me through it. I'm curious why you chose to start with a Last Man Standing over, another ultra distance that was kind of like a set distance.
Yeah. So I like the fact that you can go more if you want to. You're just really finding my whole gist of this, especially last year into this year, is just finding my breaking point in a way. Where's the moment where I'm going to like officially say, like, I can't keep going anymore. I thought I was going to find that in the Ironman. I didn't. And then, I did my 250 marathon earlier this year. That was honestly was pretty smooth, besides like almost blacking out at the end of it. And then this race, I saw Nick Bear do it, and I was like, I just love that format, and I decided just to go for it. And then, as I was like 80 miles into it, I was talking to the winner of last year, and he was telling me how this was like one of the hardest backyard ultras in the country. Just given the elevation and given how there's no nighttime course, it's all because apparently I'm new to the ultra space. He says apparently like for the daytime course, you're going through the woods, you're going through the trails, and then once it gets dark, you go onto like the street or like the road or something like that, which is a completely different course for any time it's having that like loop format, which I didn't know about, but he was filming in on everything. And then, yeah, man, I just really wanted to do this to just see where I just felt like I can't go anymore. And I want to say I left that race completely broken. It may have not looked like it in some of the videos just because the laps that I did come in where I just was like disheveled, like just no life in me at all. Like nobody really had their phones that was recording me just because they saw like the pain I was in. It's like, you don't really like kind of, you film the highs a lot when your friends are there, but it's like when you see somebody that's in a lot of pain, your first instinct isn't to take the phone out. And so a lot of that is missing in the video, but a lot of it was on my live stream when I was doing it on Instagram. And yeah, I mean, that race, I went in with expectations of it going a certain way. and I I didn't expect it to affect me in the way it did. It really just it's hard to even like kind of put into words because it's just like it was a lot, man. It was
Hmm.
a lot, dude. And I know you know that too. I know you're familiar with that space, but it completely just exceeded my expectations in terms of experience, but also certain pain thresholds and just really understanding, what my body can do. I left that race, one, obviously barely being able to walk, but two, like if you were to like push me off a building, I would have thought I could fly, dude. Like that's like the confidence it just kind of instills after doing something like that. And that's like what I'm just so addicted to is like that feeling of like towing the starting line, not knowing if you can do what you're about to do, and then you do it given the conditions your body were in, dude. And it was yeah, I was broke. I was honestly in the most amount of pain I've ever been in my entire life, right around that mile 40 marker. Which again, I ran a 50 mile, like 12-hour 50 mile loop we did first week of prep, and so I'm thinking, okay, I did that. I felt good. I felt great after that. I'm like, all right, I got 10 more weeks to train. Like I should be good. Um, and again, didn't expect that to happen. And I was barely being able to get out of the tent. And yeah, it really just caught me off guard in many different areas. But I had such a solid crew where a majority of them, it was their first time ever crewing. And very, I give everything to them. I wouldn't have been able to do it without them, especially without my coach. He did the race last year too. He came in third place. He's going back this year to win the whole thing. So I'll be there crewing him for that. But it's the crew really makes the world of a difference there. It was so crazy, man. It was I could talk about this race forever, but yeah,
Yeah.
it was wild.
Yeah. Well, shout out to Dan. Dan
Yeah,
Marchese is
yeah,
your coach, correct?
mm,
Yeah, he's a beast. He's a beast. I have a privilege to run Hellbender. We ran Hellbender earlier this year, which was cool. He's a beast. I saw in your video as well, there was just the whole crew. Like you had the snack person, you had the vibes guy.
yeah,
Like shout out to the crew for helping push you through. And there were certainly times in that video I saw where you were just so dejected, like staring at the ground, eating putting down whatever you could, probably feeling nauseous as fuck at the time, like not really wanting to put anything down, but knowing like I have to do this to continue to get through. Before we kind of dive into the nitty gritty of the race, I want to go back to something that you mentioned, which was I had run an Ironman and I had not hit that wall. I had run the 250 marathon, had not hit that wall or hit the limit, so to speak.
mm,
Did you do a full Ironman prior to that?
yeah. So I was gonna do. I planned to do a 12-week prep for an Ironman last May, a full
Hmm.
Ironman. I just wanted to jump to it. And then about a month and a half into training, I tore a ligament in my ankle. And that led me to the decision to push it off. I was
Mm.
crunching numbers and I was thinking, okay, maybe I could do it with like 30 days of training, but I had to be smart there. So then I pushed it off to November, and I still had my sub 250 marathon date that I wanted to go for in September. So as 2 months after tearing my ligament, I reached out to my other coach who's helping with my marathons, Kat Campbell. I said there, I was like, listen, I want to go sub 250. We missed Boston by 30 seconds last year. I want to make sure it's not even close this time. And I'm coming in with 0 miles and everything. So went through that prep. I think it was a 12, 13 week prep. And then throughout that prep, found out I had a herniated disc after the first week and couldn't do any speed work. Ran all my runs on the treadmill. Um, I literally did no tempo, no nothing. Literally just marathon pace when I can, and then all easy runs. Some days I couldn't even do my easy runs. I would literally struggle just
Mm.
to get out of bed in the morning. Um, so that race, that prep was probably the toughest prep I've ever been through. And then obviously well, not obviously, but we did a 250 30 marathon, so 2 hours 50 minutes and 30 seconds, which was I had a lot of people that hit me up after. They're like, dude, I gotta be honest, like I support you and everything, but I didn't think you were gonna be coming close to that given the work you put in and no speed work, no nothing. And I'm like, and then that was kind of the glimpse of like, okay, your body can only be prepared so much. A lot of it really is, where does that mind take you past where that body starts saying no, because the mind will feed into it. Uh, you already know that the first response of the mind is to protect the body. And a lot of people feed
Hmm.
into that. But the second you start saying no to it, no to it, no to it, you are now gaining control. And the mind can suppress what you want to do unless, unless you I guess, kind of guide your mind to allow it to do whatever you think it can do. And then, the opportunity and the limits are endless. So then after that, it led me with 6 weeks before my Ironman, and I was not on a bike yet, no nothing. Um, and I was dealing with a little hamstring injury right behind my knee, so I wasn't really running. And in 6 weeks, I propped my indoor trainer, my Zwift, right up in the corner here. And I didn't take it off the trainer the entire prep. And I didn't swim
Mm.
outside of an LA Fitness pool the entire prep until race day. And yeah, in 6 weeks of training, minimal running and no coach, no nothing, just kind of going off my own knowledge of what I know about running and applying those concepts to both swimming and biking. I did it in 11 hours and 42 minutes. And that whole run, I told myself I'm not walking. There was too many people that I saw walking, and everybody failing that 1 second decision. And again, everybody's body's in different conditions and everything, but everybody's in pain. Everybody's in a certain level of pain, and everybody has that thought of, okay, I could stop now, or I should stop now. And you can either feed into it, or you could keep saying no. And I just kept saying no, and just chasing that person in front of me. And there was not one person that passed me that entire marathon. I think I did it in 3 hours and 48 minutes. But yeah, overall it was 11 hours 42 minutes for my first Ironman, and I'm probably going to be doing another one next December with a bunch of people. Gonna hopefully shoot under 11 hours if possible, but gonna maybe put a better prep into that. But yeah, the Ironman was
Hmm.
was my first big glimpse into of that, I guess, endurance type of space where you're going for almost 12 hours of just nonstop. And no music, no nothing, so you really got to tap into, what you got up top. And that's where I started priding myself on that. You could put me in a situation where I may not be the most physically fit or ready to do the race in front of me, but I promise you my mind's going to take me past a lot of other people and past certain limits that I thought I could be at. And it's not in a cocky way at all. I have the evidence stacked up that I've done those things. And then, leading into this race here, it's just I had the evidence coming into it. Even if my body's not prepared, I know my mind's going to push me past that point. So it really is just stacking
Yep.
the evidence, but it starts with just blind faith in the beginning that you can do it. That gives you a little bit of fuel. And then once you do that, once you get over that first hump, it's like, wait a minute, let's do that again. And it's like, it's not that I'm obsessed with running and training. I'm obsessed with what comes out of it, especially after that race day when you toe the starting line, not knowing if you're about to do what you said you were going to do. And then you just
Hmm.
completely, shock yourself. That's why I'm really big on setting those ambitious goals, because even if you do fall somewhat short, you're accomplishing so much more along the way. And that's what I've fallen in love with. Not so much the training and everything. I love everything that comes with it because I've met an awesome group of people and just community and everything. But man, it's an addicting feeling. When you feel broken after that
Yep.
race, and you just kind of, I know the feeling. You just kind of just look up and you breathe and you're like, I just did it. I just did it when I thought I didn't even know I could do it a few hours ago or a day ago, whatever it was. And yeah, there's a lot of power in that when you go out and do what you said you were going to do, because a lot of people will call their shot. A lot of people will do it, and then a lot of people will feed into the excuses that holds them back from actually doing it. Um,
Oh yeah.
every prep I've had, there's been something, whether it was my herniated disc, whether it was, only 10 weeks to train for my sub three, coming with no miles underneath it. I had my first marathon. I only had 45 days to train because the day I signed up, 2 days later, I was in the hospital with a random kidney disease. So, it was just
Mm.
like one thing after the next. Um, and there were so many times where I could have just said no, like, all right, I'll push it back. I'm not going to do the Ironman. I only have 6 weeks to train. I'm not going to do the Ironman. People train years for this. Uh, that would be silly of me, but it's just been a common theme. And then for this ultra, it was, I had 10, 11 weeks to train for a 100-mile race with over 13,000 feet of elevation gain or 10,000 feet of elevation gain. I'm here in New Jersey. It's only so much elevation I could get, but
Right.
it's the conditions are never going to be perfect, and I feel like a lot of people are miscued by that on social media, and a lot of people don't really show a lot of that. You do a great job of showing all that too. So there's a lot of people out there that do post and do show everything about it, the wins, the losses, and everything in between, the training and everything when the injuries are there. Because a lot of people come in thinking it's all sunshines and rainbows, and it is absolutely not. But that's why we do it though, and that's what a lot of people don't see. So I just rambled on there, but yeah, there's been a common theme throughout a lot of races where nothing has gone as planned, but the result has been better than what has been expected.
Yeah. No, and that's just like a huge nod to your one, your mindset, and your ability to overcome, because you're right. Like, so many people will see their block not going the way they thought it was supposed to go and theorize in their head how it was supposed to go. And then they'll start to like give themselves an option, right? And once you give yourself an option, you've already lost, because you're going to try and potentially back out or whatever it is. And it's just like, non-negotiable mentality at the end of the day. And the other thing I really resonated that I appreciated was, how you were saying, like, yeah, I like the process. The process is cool, but it's more so the other side, getting to the other side of like running 100 miles, for example, or doing a full Ironman. And the way I like to talk about it is like meeting the version of myself that I didn't know, on the other side. Like when I was training for my first 100, I was like, yeah, I've run 50 miles before, similar to you. Like, you went out your first week of training and ran like a 50 mile or whatever. But I wanted to see the version of me beyond 50 miles, the version of me at mile 70, at mile 80. Was I still as determined? Was I still as, relentless as I think that I am, as I think that I could potentially be? And you get to actually experience that and go through that in real time, which is pretty cool. Now, in hindsight, it's easy to say that, the Ironman was not my limit. It didn't break me. I wasn't, fully pushed to the edge. At the time, did you think that you were? Now, in hindsight, obviously you've done something harder. So now you really know what the limit is. But we can go back to like, like Goggins, for example, is like, when you think you're done, you're only 40% of the way done or whatever.
Mm.
Did you think you were kind of toast done at that point? And then later on, after you ran the ultra, you're like, damn, I really had so much more to give, so much more in the tank.
At the time, at the time, well, first I just want to quickly touch on like the version of yourself that you're working towards, that you don't know yet. I left that race, and still coming out of it. I'm still learning so much more about what happened in those 24 hours, and it's changed me completely.
Mm.
My perception of everything has changed. Life, time, pain, like everything is completely different. I almost feel like it sounds so corny, but I literally feel just like almost like reborn in a way. Like I just got like a new life added to me, in a way. And now people listening probably thinking, oh, that's crazy. Like you literally just ran 100 miles. Like you're running, that's it. But you go through so much physical exhaustion and mental fatigue where you're like chemically your body's just, it has to change. It has to adjust. It has to trick itself that, okay, yes, your leg is giving out. Yes, your hamstring feels it's going to rip in half, but like we're dealing with it. This is the new norm now, and you're getting the new norm for you at that time is I'm in the most pain I've ever been in my entire life. And when you do that lap and lap and lap and lap and hour and hour and hour again, it's your mind eventually adapts to it. And that governor in there is now adjusting to you being like, okay, well, last lap you were hurting like this, so I guess we're doing it again and then again and then again. And then, oh, now we're going to make this knee hurt. And then that one, it's your perception of pain really changes over time. It really does. Now back to the Ironman. At that time, I experienced things I've never experienced in my entire life on that run. Um, it's again, given, I don't even want to say given the lack of training, but given the minimal training I had going into such a big event, I knew it was going to happen. I was mentally prepared for it. I was really preparing myself for the worst in case I lost a bottle on the bike, which I did on like the first lap, in case my whole rack fell off. On the run, if my stomach wasn't working, I had to toss some gels, whatever it was. Um, at that point, at mile 13 on the run, I hit the wall, and that was the hardest wall I've ever hit in my entire life. To where every step, right behind my knees and my hamstring area would just buckle. It literally looked like I'm getting shot in the back of my legs as I'm going. And on top of that, just my quads, it literally just feels like somebody's just punching my quad every single step. My feet, I had no feeling in my feet for the first 6 miles of the run. But again, the viewpoint of it, my feet are down there. I'm still able to run. Why am I going to stop? They'll come back eventually. Um, Again, that's not what I recommend. That's just the way I went about it, because a lot of people ask these questions, and everybody has a different process to it. But yeah, at that point, when I crossed that finish line, I was in the most pain I've ever been in my entire life up to that point. And so, do I think I left that race thinking I could do more? Yes, because fast forward to now, I would have known I guess found my breaking point if I walked during that marathon.
Mm.
When everything in my body was telling me to walk, if I walked, that was my indicator. That's why I told myself, like, we're not going off this pace. I had no pacing plan coming into it. I literally came out the first 5 miles at a 7:30 minute per mile pace, and I'm like, okay, this is not going to work. We gotta peel this back. We have to peel this
Right.
back. Um, and then I settled in at a good spot where I felt good. And I told myself, we're not leaving this pace and we are not walking no matter what happens from here on out. And then little did I know, every single mile later, I literally did not drink any carbs, electrolytes. Um, I had potato chips and a cup of water at every aid station I passed. And
Jesus.
that was my fuel for the next 13 miles, dude. It was,
Damn.
again, it was the only thing that was working at the time. I literally threw my handheld water bottles out because I was getting just so pissed off that my stomach just wasn't taking it. And then yeah, my breaking point in that race there was if I started walking or if I just
Hmm.
completely tapped out, which wouldn't happen. I would crawl if I had to, whatever I had to do. But I knew I didn't find it in that Ironman, but I knew I now found a new pain threshold that I could get to where I could still manage and still push beyond, which was the exciting part of it, which is why I knew I had to one up what I just did. And that's my goal every year, to one up whatever my A goal was throughout the year. So 2 years ago was a sub 3 iron or sub 3 marathon. Last year was the Ironman. This year was obviously the ultra, well, the 250 marathon, and then the ultra. So it's just finding what's next. Now, what's after the ultra, I don't know. I'm going to worry about that once I get there. Still got a big year ahead, but it you find new pain thresholds, but you don't find your breaking point. That's what I was like. Okay, now I'm a little bit curious. What's going to break me? Where am I? When am I going to get to that? But yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. I want to touch on the governor, and this. Your body is trying to protect you from doing damage, and you're trying to override it and say, "No, I can keep going." And your body's telling you, "Hey, motherfucker, you got to slow down. You got to stop. We're hurting right now." Did it take doing that Ironman for you to realize like you could overcome that? Had you overcome that in training before? What was kind of your experience in breaking through that governor? Because the most elite athletes have a really unique way to break through this, whereas more novice to amateur athletes kind of hit that governor, and that's where they'll start to pitter off and maybe start to cruise and find like a comfortable pace, whereas the elites can push through that, and it's like this mental thing. It's like a mental switch where they just turn on. Had you experienced that in training before that, and how do you think about that now during your events?
Mm. Yeah, no, it's a good question. So I was introduced to that idea of the governor. I think it was David Goggins, and just that whole idea that it's meant to protect you. And as I thought about that, and I went through these harder runs, I'm like, that's it. Like that's it right there. My body is still working, but my mind is literally telling it like, you got to stop, you got to slow down. Like that is what I'm hearing about. Now, how can I control this thing? I will always go back and credit the first hard thing I did that opened my mind to what I can do and to how I can suppress that governor. And it was that first marathon, when I
Mm,
only had, because that kind of set the tone moving forward. Um, you know, Again, I came in, no coach. I had no idea of a fueling plan. I watched Nick Bear's sub 3 prep and adjusted my paces off what I thought I could hold for 45 days. And I followed exactly what he did on YouTube. It was literally all off YouTube. Followed exactly what he did. And again, coming in from 0 miles, I didn't have any super shoes, anything like that. And that race really was the first breaking point that said, there's this whole oasis beyond that governor, beyond that point of where it's trying to stop you at. There's a whole oasis over here that's yet to be discovered. And I only just touched over it. But at the time, I felt like I just broke through it. And I'm like, okay, there's more to this. Because I finished that. I did my first marathon in 3 hours and 17 minutes, 45 days of training. And at the time, I didn't realize, that was a solid time to do a first marathon. And I just came in oblivious and just ran. Um, and then from there, it was just finding the next thing and the next thing, because I was so addicted to the idea of like replicating that race day mindset where there's no, like, you really can't you can do the hardest training runs ever, but there's nothing like race day. Personally, that's what I feel like. And
right.
that's why I'm so
Yep.
excited about it. Cause I know I'm about to find something else that I didn't know about myself, like what we were saying before. And like, for me, it's just tapping, I guess, just kind of like breaking past that governor's voice and just kind of like stepping more into that oasis and creating now not just like a little creek that's opening, but like a whole doorway that's opening into this whole new space that's yet to be discovered. And that's really what I think about race day, because then it gets you out of a lot of people have anxiety going to race day, that they're scared, they're this, they're that, it's too crowded, it's all this, but it's like, don't, if run this race as if you were the only person here, right? Do it for you, don't do it for what everybody else is going to think of you. Do it for what you think you're about to do, and then push past that point. You're about to find so much more about yourself, but a lot of people are hesitant to do that first one because of how scary it is initially. One, the fear of failure,
Right.
but two, just it's not something they're used to, which is why my biggest piece of advice for everybody is sign up for that first race and set a scary goal. Add some realism to the goal. Obviously, I'm not saying have your first marathon and be a sub 3 marathon and you've never trained and you're only doing 10 weeks of training. Obviously you want to add some realism to it in terms of what you know you can do and where your body's at, but set a goal and just set that first goal, circle the day on the calendar and go for it. And then that's what broke the wall down for me. But a lot of people are hesitant to get to that point, and a lot of people are too caught up in what's going on around them rather than what they're about to learn about themselves. And every race day, that's why I'm so just happy. I'm always chatting. I'm always, I'm always having a good time because this is the one day out of the year I trained for weeks for weeks, for months. Everything is this right here. Why am I going to be, you know, anxious, scared, nervous? Like, this is exactly what we train for, and that's why I love the race day atmosphere. Because again, you get to see other people that are pushing past their breaking point too, and then you might be able to have an effect on them too, even if you're just running past somebody saying like, all right, let's go, come on, like stop walking, do
Yep.
this, do that, and I'm really big on that. I'm really big on pushing people forward. And like, I'm doing the Jersey City half marathon. I'm pacing my coach on Saturday, and I'm so excited just because that race day atmosphere, you can't replicate it. Every single one is different, and I'm so excited to see the people there, to push more people, to push my coach to a PR. Like, it's the race day is the day you confront the governor and say
Hmm.
we're going according to my terms here, and that's if you have a strong enough voice to do that and the actions behind it. But again, it starts with that first one, and that first one's the hardest one, but that first one will get a little crack into that door and think, okay, let's see what else we could do now. And then fast forward
Hmm.
to now. I mean, I mean, especially that ultra, it took leaps and bounds past that, and I don't know. It instills a confidence in you that I don't want to even say is cocky, but it might be a little bit, just because you really do feel like you could fly at some points, and it's because that thought of pain and failure and fear of failure is like it's not even really there right now. It's just kind of like you're kind of numb to it
Hmm.
because you broke it down so many times. Every time you stood up and towed the starting line, you broke it down even more. And then you do it again the next hour. Then, okay, well, we're going to make this knee hurt. Your IT band's going to feel like it's going to snap. All right, well, we're breaking that down too. And but the thing is, majority of people will stop before that point because they listen to it and they feed into it. Now, again, you know your body best. If you're running and you do feel like your hamstring's about to snap in half and you know it's about to with one bad step, make that decision there. But I told myself, like, this is my mindset going into it. If my hamstring on my left knee or right behind my left knee would just gave out, didn't work, I had my right knee, and there was 2 laps I had to run, which is 8 miles, all just on my left leg, you know. So it's not that I'm saying I advise people to do that, but it's the only way you're really going to test out your body, really, to see what it can do and how much it can break down that governor. And that's what I'm addicted to, is really confronting that voice. It's like a final battle almost. You do
Hmm.
weeks of training, and now it's like you just met the final boss, and now it's like this is where it is. And the longer you're in the pain cave for, the more you learn about yourself. And that's something my sister was saying too. Race day, she was bringing that up, and it's true. It's just the longer you stay in the pain cave, the more you know about yourself, the more you're learning about yourself, because you'll get in a pain cave in your training runs, but it's nothing like race day. And it's close to race day, but it's nothing will replicate race day pain cave, which is why it just excites me so much, as you can see how I'm kind of getting just amped up and like ready for it. But yeah, I will say it all stems from football too. Just
Hmm.
the work ethic and training. It doesn't come out of nowhere. I was always a fast kid my entire life, not long distance wise, but always fast, always strong. So it's not like this came from anywhere. I wasn't just saying, okay, I'm gonna go run a marathon like this and go. I had somewhat of a little strength base built up, but it's the marathon scared the hell out of me, and I said, we're gonna do this. I don't even know if I can do this. We're gonna do this. Um,
Yep. And
And
you've
yeah,
just been stacking momentum since
that's
then.
it.
That's
That's
awesome.
it.
I want to go back to the training for Last Man Standing. The reason I want to jump to this is because on paper for Leadville, I had like the picture perfect build up to that race.
Yeah.
And then, on race day, you can just get smacked upside the head and it just doesn't go your way. And that can happen regardless of how beautiful your block or your build up is to the race. Now, ideally, that doesn't happen. Conditions go your way, you're feeling great, the taper works out, all of that. In hindsight, like, explain how you felt during the training block leading up to Last Man Standing, if you were like really beat down or if you were feeling really good. And then in hindsight, was there anything that you would have done a little bit differently to the build up to that race?
Yeah. Um, well, first off, just from my comment here too, like I was watching your prep for Leadville and literally looking at it. I'm pretty sure I even showed like my mom or somebody. I was like he's literally about to crush one of the hardest ultra races in the country. Like this, like there's you couldn't draw it up any better right now. But again, I tell a lot of people like you could run a race today and have a completely different result than you could a week later. Your fitness doesn't change, but the body sometimes it might not be ready to go that day compared to the next day. So
Right.
it's exactly what you were saying. It's really just any given day. And it's sometimes you can't control it. At that point you can't push past that point to where you got to. And obviously it's amazing that you are here. You're good. Everything's fine, which is awesome.
Thank you, bro. Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's. I was trying to check in as much as I can because that it's and that's the realism of running though, the ultra space too, because that stuff can happen. You want to be open to that. And you were very open about the whole thing too, updating everybody when you could. Cause I know there's probably a lot of people that were waiting on some updates, including myself. Cause that stuff is scary and it's real life too. And you, if I'm not mistaken, you have
Yeah.
a kid on the way too, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, God
So
works
it
in
hits a
crazy.
little bit harder.
Yeah. God works in crazy ways, man, but you are here. So
Yeah.
you are here. We're
Yes, sir.
chatting right now. And that's the biggest thing. Um, Now the the training block. So leading up to it, I only had like really like a 20-ish mile base for 5, 6 weeks, which isn't really much, but still was running a little bit. And then week one of prep, we did a simulation. There's a trail a little south from here, 4.2 mile loop, around 400 feet of elevation gain. And it's at like a park kind of, but it's all throughout the woods, and it's a great simulation course for the actual last man standing. And so we had Vitalizer, the run club I help with, and like it's a company I help with with my friend Derek Morgan, and then my coach Dan, his company, his run club and group and training program, we all kind of combined and hosted a like a last man standing format. You go as far as you want, as long as you want, but we'll cap it at 50. And so I hit 50 miles on that 12-hour run. Again, had really no fueling strategy. I just kind of heard what other people were doing. I was like, all right, I'll have a ham and turkey sandwiches. I'll have some Welch's fruit snacks, some candy, this and that. And my stomach was fine, So I was like, all right, we're going to keep going with that. And training wise, I think we went about it the best way. Dan is very good with communication. And, some days my IT band was hurting compared to others. So we had to peel it back a little bit. We started the taper a little bit earlier than usual. Then again, I only had really 10 to 11 weeks to train for this, which isn't ideal for one of the hardest backyard ultras in the country, but that's the stuff I love about it. I don't like the ideal conditions. Throw me in with nothing, just, I don't know. Throw me into a cage just full of bears with just my fists to fight. I don't want a sword, no nothing. Like, literally just keep me there. So I don't think I would change anything because, again, the reason why I went with Dan, first off, I'm a sponge. I believe I can learn everything from everybody, no matter how far into the space I am, no matter how knowledgeable I am. I do believe you can learn something from everybody. Even if you're at the top of the world, there's still somebody else that you can learn. You can learn from. You can learn something from someone, a 14-year-old that came up to you and said something to you, and it just stuck with you forever. You don't know. So it's
Hmm.
really big in that, which is why I brought Dan on to coach me for this. Also, because his race experience, I don't think I would have. I would have. I mean, on the strength side of it, I hit numbers that I've never hit before. So it is the strongest I've ever been, doing the most amount of miles I've ever been, and that right there is a lot of power in saying that because, again, being 25 years old, I'm saying this is the strongest I've ever been in my life, and this is the most amount of miles I've ever ran in my entire life. There's a lot of power in that. You know, you're moving in the right
It's
direction at that point.
very rare to have both of
Mhm.
those things hitting at the same time. Very rare.
Yeah, yeah, and that's why I was so. And it's I mean, I'm 5'7", 168, 169 pounds, and I I hit a 315 bench, something I've worked towards for so long, but I don't bench anymore. That's the thing. I was like, okay, let me try it out, see if I could do it, and I did it. And I'm like, this is weird. I'm 3 weeks out from race day. I'm like, why am I hitting these PRs? Um, and it's just a testament to one, the work ethic and discipline, to the training regimen that's put in front of me. I really don't think I would have changed anything. I loved everything he did with the blocks, the scaling it up, and then also some deload weeks and everything. I love the double long runs we did. I did that 50-mile run, then I did two 30-mile runs at the same trail. So I love having access to that trail. I wouldn't have known about it if it wasn't for Dan. And that was a perfect replica of walking to this tree, jogging to that rock, walking this downhill, of like setting a system and going. And
Hmm.
it got to the point where in the race, even though I was chatting with my sister, with Brendan, with Austin, I was naturally, subconsciously taking mental notes. Okay, we're going to jog to this tree. Okay, we're going to try to walk this downhill. Let's see if we could run that downhill next time, see where my time differs. And there were certain points where it was a definite walk and a definite jog, but there were some 50-50s where we could decide. And within the first 4 laps, I had an exact system in place in terms of if I wanted to finish in 12 with 12 minutes left to rest, I know exactly where I have to walk, exactly where I have to run because of those trail runs, because of Dan, and because that he showed me all that and kind of walked me all through it. So I think it was a great training block given the time we had. Again, I came to him, with a very high ask of I want to run 100 miles. Um, I have 11 weeks. I'm coming in with 20 miles under my belt every single week. Can you help me there? And it and he helped so much race day too. It was a lot of he kept me kind of mentally sane in a way with some of the stuff he was asking me and talking to me about. And I told him coming into this, I was like, listen, if I'm going into this with you, like, I trust you with my life. Like, you have everything. I'm going to give you everything. I'm never going to miss a run. I'm never going to do this. Like, you have every bit of me. Let's see what we can do. So I really do. I'm really happy with the training run, or with the training block, and what we did.
I gotta have Dan on the pod, man. I've heard so many good things about him, and I haven't got a chance to really have a conversation with him. But I definitely got to have him on. If people want to hear more about the race, I'll let them watch the video, and I'll put it in the show notes so people can check it out. But one last thing I want to touch on with Last Man Standing is I've seen you post a bit about this. You've kind of referred to it a little bit today about the post race, feeling a unique way maybe you've never felt before after a race or about after anything in life. And it's a little bit reflective, it's a little bit like inspired, and it's just a little bit like off or different. Is there any like post race blues or sadness kind of that you're fighting through? And kind of describe that feeling a little bit more, because people, I know what you're talking about, I know the feeling, but it's hard to describe to folks. It's like you just did this thing that you didn't know you could do, and then you do it, and you feel this immense sense of pride and excitement and gratitude and all this, and this very high, and then afterwards it's like you almost fall into this lull or a low afterwards. Talk me through that a little bit, what you've been kind of experiencing in the week since.
Yeah, it's so I was trying to figure that out for a bit. It took me, I want to say, close to 20 days out of the race to finally try to or to kind of understand what was going on. Um, First off, that the rest of that Sunday when I finished the race, and then that day after, I don't really have any recollection of it. Like, I
Mm.
think mentally I was just so fatigued, so exhausted, that it was almost like a um, now this is not the exact term. This is just what it feels like almost like a stress concussion, because there was no hit to my head, there was no nothing, but it was the symptoms of a concussion in a way. Because
Mm.
again, I played football my entire life. Um, I've got hit in the head a handful of times. I had my fair share of concussions, which is why I had to stop. But that's kind of what I could compare it to where I lived that day, but I have no recollection of it. And then leading out of that race, I felt as if there was just a fog around me. It was very cloudy. Everything was very diluted in a way. Um, some points I didn't even like feel real. Like, it was very weird. And I think what I could compare it to is that exact same feeling I felt when I made the decision to stop playing college football my sophomore year, is because I felt super fogged. I felt super like my emotions were out of whack. I didn't really even feel like a person almost. I was repeating myself a million times, but again, that gets into like the memory side of things. Um, And I guess that foggy feeling is exactly or close to how I can compare it to here. And again, you're not really going to know unless you actually experience that feeling, but that's the best way I can explain it. Um, and yes, there's the post race blues because you give everything and anything you had for that. And then, you got to go back to just kind of reality in a way. Like, this is, that's it, it's done. And I don't, one thing I've been trying to work on is I don't hold my head, like, I never really held my head high on many of the things I did. I would always just kind of check it off, say, all right, good job, Matt. Like, you did great. On to the next thing. Because I was able to go on to the next thing. This one really halted me in my tracks and taught me to just appreciate what I did that much more. The Ironman is different. The Ironman, I did take some time to appreciate what I did. But this one really stopped me. And like as I'm 2 weeks out of it, I see everybody, or even like a week out of it, I see everybody that I ran with already back to running, lifting, feeling good, feeling great, just, oh yeah, I'm fine, I'm good, back to it. And I'm over here like still swollen as can be. I can barely even jog without hurting. My back is shot, my knee is shot. Mentally, I'm completely out of it. It trickled into like every area of my life too. I to the point where like I have work on a Tuesday at the same time every morning, and I'm setting my alarm for a different time the night before, 2 days in a row or something like that. Like it was really messing kind of with everything. And it kind of put me in a weird spot mentally. I am out of it or coming out of it now, but it's really just a foggy feeling that it's interesting, man. It's really interesting. It's not something I expected either. Again, there was so much expectations I had coming into this race, but there was a lot more that I experienced that I just wasn't ready for, and that was being one of it. That post race, and again, it's not even like I didn't have any races coming up for the rest of the year, because that's not the case at all. I still have 3 other races coming up, and 2 of them I'm super excited for. So it wasn't even that, but it was more so just like I don't know. It was just the fogginess, the blues, like the mix of everything, and then like trying to have my body just adjust to it. And it really took time. It took some time. It did take some time.
Well, I appreciate you kind of sharing that on social too, because that's a thing that we deal with in the space a lot. Is like everybody's showing the highlights and the good shit, and that's
Mm-hmm.
something I obviously have tried to lean into with some of my experiences. Boston, for example, didn't go my way. Talking through that, Leadville, these big races that didn't really go my way, so to speak. And there's so much to be said through those experiences, because other people who are following us and keeping up, and like they're going after their own goals, when they only see the highs of the highs. And like for you, for example, too, you saw everybody after the race posting about their runs or like feeling good 1 week out after, but they're not posting about, they're not all feeling like that, and there's some low lows in there too that other people aren't sharing. So I just wanted to say that I appreciate you sharing that other side of it, because we all go through it at one
Mm-hmm.
point or another. There's really no escaping it, especially after doing something like that. And I appreciate you leaning into that. Moving towards your next couple races, which you just mentioned too, you just qualified and got accepted into Boston. Congratulations, dude.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And so I know that the cutoff, I think, got you last year. This year, as you said, you were going to make sure that there was no question that you were going to make it happen one way or another. What was your Boston qualifying race? Where did you get the time at?
Jersey City Marathon, where I'm going to on Saturday for the half marathon. So it was April earlier this year, April 14th, I want to say. The same course, so it'll be cool being back there on Saturday. Just kind of get a little bit of flashbacks and everything. And yeah, it was two
Okay.
hours 50 minutes and 30 seconds.
Nice. Hell yeah, man. That's
Mm.
awesome. You also have Chicago coming up, which is another epic race. Boston and Chicago, two majors.
Okay.
Most people don't get the opportunity to run two majors quite so soon, kind of back to back. Obviously, it's one in the fall and one in the spring, which is good for you because you get a little time in between. But just curious about, which one you're more excited about and your experience kind of leading into Chicago in the next couple weeks.
Yeah. So I'm actually doing Chicago, and then I'm doing New York City, and then Boston. New York
Oh
City, I'm
shit.
I'm going more.
Damn, dude.
New York City,
Stacked.
yeah. Well, I mean, after New York City, I'm doing 2 weeks after New York City, I'm doing High Rocks Dallas. as well. So that's a good stretch of things I have, but I think I'm more excited for Boston just because of what it takes to really get there. A lot of people are indifferent about the time cutoffs and everything. I love it, honestly. I love it because you really have to earn that. That's not going to
Mhm.
come by luck. Like we're in the same age group. We have to run this time. You got to find a way to do it. I'm not going to complain about the cutoff. I saw that it's now moved to 2:55 next year. I can't wait to go for like a 2:45 marathon. So I love seeing it, and I love just make it how they make it that much harder to get in. Again, I had some friends that missed it by 30 seconds, by 20 seconds. It's the name of the game. You don't know until the time's qualified, sent in already. You ran your best race, and you hang your head high on it. Now it just fuels your fire for the next one. If I didn't miss it by 30 seconds last year, I wouldn't have done a 250 marathon. So I wouldn't have PR'd by 5 minutes. I did a 255.05 last year. It's that Jersey City Marathon wouldn't have happened. I would have been in Boston, so my PR would still probably have been 255 up to this point. So it's just I wasn't meant to Boston qualify at that race, even though that race was very important to me. The 255 very very important just because there was a lot going on in my life, and I just wanted to go sub 3, and I did 5 minutes under that, and that was a beautiful day. And then yeah, Jersey City. I mean, that was even just an even more perfect day. And then yeah, Chicago. Chicago. I'm really curious. One, I've heard amazing things. I've never done a world major before. That'll be my first one. I've heard amazing things. Heard it's a fast course, so I'm going to try to go as fast as I can, given how my body's at right now. I would love at least a sub 3. In a perfect world, I would love a sub 255 maybe. But I'm really curious to see how the high volume translates to going fast. Now, I'm going to have a lot of people saying, Matt, you're like, you got to be realistic. Like, you're not going to run a 255, you're not going to run a 250. Like, you literally have not done any speed work in 15 weeks. Like, but I've just stopped listening to all that. And when it comes to my body, let me figure it out. I could say I'm going to run a sub 3 and bonk and run a 310, 315. I still just ran a world major, and it's going to be a beautiful place, and I'm super excited to be there. So it's not even like I train to run whatever time I'm going for right now. So I want to say I'm more excited for Boston. I am excited for Chicago because it's my first. So the first is always great. And then New York City, I mean, just because it's literally 30 minutes from me, that one, and the people are obviously a little crazy, but I love that about New York City. So I'm excited for New York City as well. I think that'll be fun because there's a lot of people I know running it too, and so it's really cool just seeing people that you follow, people that follow you for so long, and you finally get to meet them at these places, and it's really just in a beautiful space, those big races and race day and that environment and everything.
Yeah, totally different environment than well, Boston was from what I was used to. I had only run, my biggest marathon I ever run was probably Charlotte Marathon. So
Mm-hmm.
going to that to like the lines and lines of people for the whole entire race, man, for 3 races almost back to back for you is going to be insane. I'm curious about your strategy. So, having the schedule stacked like that is not conducive to maybe going out and being able to run your best race at each one, right? And you're stacked pretty heavy. So are you going to attempt to like kind of go out there and rip each one? Are you thinking about maybe going out and fun running a major, which could be an incredible experience? Like that's something I really want to do is go out and not try to PR, but just like especially something like New York or Chicago to go
Yeah.
out and embrace it, experience like maybe try and hit a cheeky sub 3, right? But not like, go all
Mm-hmm.
out and like we do for our PR. So I'm curious about your strategy for kind of the 3 back to back like that.
Yeah, yeah. Now I could sit here and say I'm going to do exactly what Jeremy Miller did and just run like sub threes back to back to back, but which is just amazing because they were all pretty close timeline wise too. Um, the reason why I'm going to try to rip Chicago is because I have New York City right after that. So what I want to
Mhm.
do is I'm still going to experience the whole thing. Again, if I'm saying rip it, it doesn't mean I'm like super serious. I'm not taking everything and I'm not talking to people. Like I'm recording on my phone. I'm chatting with people. I'm giving high fives to the kids in the crowd. Like I'm still enjoying every bit of it. But I'm gonna try to rip Chicago, New York City, just because it's literally almost like my hometown in a way. I'm really gonna enjoy the hell out of it. If somebody wants me to pace them, sure. I love pacing people. If there's any way I can help somebody get to their goal, that'd be awesome. But I really do want to enjoy New York City, and then Boston. I'm not sure yet. I gotta figure out Boston. I know it's a tough course from what I've heard, and I know you have your experience there. I don't know. I gotta plan out. Usually December is when I plan out my races. I guess leading up to December is when I plan them out for next year. And I really got to schedule it out because I think I have a pretty big year coming up. So it's I got to figure all that out. But right now, ripping Chicago, enjoying New York City, and then Boston. We will see when we get
Love that for you, man. It's going to be a fun couple months, that's for sure.
there.
Boston, it humbled me. That's all I'm going to say. It humbled my ass in the best of ways. It was the
Mm-hmm.
race I needed, and that's how they happen, man. It's like right when you need it. I so could resonate with you when you were talking about having finished your first 100, and you're like, dude, I feel like the sky's the limit. I'm like, I don't want to say cocky, but like I'm very confident that I can go out and achieve whatever I want to achieve. And that's how I felt going into Boston, and I was shooting for a 240 in Boston. And to be honest, that was in hindsight, that was a little bit naive because Boston's such a difficult course.
Yeah.
My PR is 244.38, and that was in Washington, which was a downhill course. So not only was I running a significantly harder course, but it obviously had the hills and all these other things thrown in. So, and I also didn't adjust on race day. I've talked about that on the pod a lot in the past. Is like it ended up being a really hot day. I should have,
Mm-hmm.
pumped the brakes a little bit and eased into it and hit the wall in a big way. But I'm glad that you're knocking these two out prior, because just to get the marathon major experience is going to be huge. And then see what happens in Boston. If you want to rip it, then rip it, and then if you want to just enjoy it, you have that option too. So it's going to be exciting to see how you take on the next couple races. I want to kind of switch gears here and go a little bit into the business side of things. So I know that you've started Sunday Morning Club, and you
Mm-hmm.
guys are doing something really cool, which is like you'll do one drop and let it sell out, and then nothing. Like obviously you're coming to the second drop, which is cool,
Mm-hmm.
but like that seems to be a brilliant strategy for brands to kind of build hype and get people interested, but also manage inventory and not have a ton of inventory sitting on the shelf and all this. So talk to me about the concept behind Sunday Morning Club and the success of y'all's first drop, which I believe sold out the first day. It was like like a couple minutes or something. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. So me and my partner, which is my sister's boyfriend, um, we've been in the e-commerce industry for about 5, 6 years now. Um, and then we kind of stepped out of it a little bit, and we were like, we want to create a brand that we are both passionate about, something we both believe in, something that matches both of our vibes too, like stuff we like to do. And then we had a few different ideas that were coasting around, and there was 3 ideas we narrowed it down to, and then there was one common theme of all of them, which was just kind of like the, I want to say almost mannerism of certain people in a way, and people we try to be, or a person we try to be. Just the finding like the inviting people in a way. So then we came across Sunday Morning Club, and the reason why we did that, one, because physically Sunday is the one day out of the week that's different from the rest. Everybody uses their Sunday for something different, whether it is to reset, whether it's just to take some time for themselves, whether it is to, go for a walk, do this, do that, go for your long runs, whatever it is. Everybody's got their day for themselves, and that usually is on a Sunday, because there's no work, no nothing that day. So it's all different. For me right now, my Sundays are all football. I love football, so that is why I will be watching rooting on the Giants, unfortunately. But and so what we wanted to do is everything is, and I know you know this, given your brand too, everything is community driven. We didn't just want to be a name brand kind of and just like throw a logo on and oh that's cool. We want people who believe in the message of when you have the hat on, like exactly the person you're going to talk to. They're very inviting. They're very caring. They're going out of the way for other people. They're very just kind of like the way I portray and the way I am on Instagram and just in person. Like we wanted to do how we are just in a brand almost. And there's videos on Instagram on my page that'll tell exactly who we are. I'm just kind of running through it pretty quick. And then, so we were like, okay, let's do this. We got a logo, we got everything. Let's do this. We had our first drop. My Willie is his name. He was like, dude, I don't know. I don't think we're ready yet. And I was like, we just got to do it, dude. We'll make it happen. Like, give me a date. We'll do it. I'll do a 2-week marketing strategy. We'll see what we can do. We had 3 colorways, and we were saying like, limited quantity, because it really was. And first drop, it sold out in 8 minutes. And
Wild.
and that was it. And again, I wasn't prepared for that at all. Cause I was going to plan on, posting, like, oh, we sold out a navy. Okay. Then, oh, maybe 30 minutes later, oh, we sold out a green. Oh, we sold out a black. We had the Shopify screen open and it just wasn't stopping. And my jaw was just kind of on the floor the entire time because you don't really go in expecting like, yeah, we're going to sell out in 8 minutes. That's just not it. But now it's like, it's so cool. Knowing you just planted like however many hats you had, you just planted that many seeds out there into the world. And I've last week I was out I was out in Hoboken in New Jersey, and I saw somebody with my hat on, and I had no clue who the person was, and I'm like, this is awesome. Like this person is making my day, and they don't even know it. He comes over, introduces himself. He goes, dude, I love your brand. I love everything it's about. I love everything you do. And I'm like, dude, you absolutely made my day. And so we actually just got the hats for the next drop, which is going to be right around mid October. Um, and 4 colors now instead of 3, and we're going to be posting about that soon. But yeah, drop based, just so like what you said, we don't sit on really much inventory, and based off how many people missed out, what you can scale it up to. Ever
Mm,
since that first drop, and again, there's been a little bit of time in between, just because things have out of our control in terms of inventory from the distributor and everything like that we were waiting on. We still have people that are asking like, yo, when's the next one? When's the next one? When's the next one? I have people that are going to like Denver, and he's like, dude, so many people just complimented me on my hat and this and that. And I'm like, like those type of stuff makes my day, just hearing that stuff. And it's, there still is a want for it. So we're going to try to fulfill that want based on what we think the quantity should be at, based off of how that first drop went. And there was a lot of people that missed out. And so it's strategic scaling in a way with minimal risk. We find that the drop is the best way to go about it. And yeah, I mean, I literally had my best friend. He was like, dude, I logged in at like 10:10 and everything was gone. I was like, listen, I didn't anticipate that happening.
insane,
But yeah,
insane.
yeah, I'm behind obviously the social media side of things, ad creatives and all that. It's just what I've been doing for a little bit. There's also a bunch of other things I do, but Sunday Morning Club, I'm pretty passionate about. We're both pretty passionate about. We want to build it up into something cool and really build a community behind it. And, eventually get into like physical assets in terms of like maybe run clubs and this and that across the area, whatever it is. So we have a certain plan going forward. Right now, it's just focusing on drop 2, planning for drop 3, and then finishing off drop 4 at the end of the year. So we're going to get 3 more drops in before the year ends. So it's going to be
Oh yeah.
a little quick, and by December we're going to really see what we can do with this thing and how it goes. But yeah, that's kind of our focus right now.
And what's your background as it kind of relates to leveraging social? So obviously you have a good following. You're almost at 100K, which is phenomenal. Congrats on all your success with that.
Thank you.
And that allows you to do really cool things with things like merch and things like
Mm.
coaching and opportunities that otherwise you wouldn't be able to. What does that journey look like for you? Like when did you start to kind of document and tell your story?
Yeah. So I posted my first video on social media a few weeks after. Well, no, it was the spring semester when I stopped playing football. Because when everybody was at spring ball, my roommate, my best friends across the hall, I was in my room alone, and I was like, I got to do something, I can't, this is killing me. I'll go to the gym, but I'm like, I'm not fulfilled right now. I got to do something. And I always wanted to just help people in a way. And I didn't know what to do. So I literally just started creating just videos where I would sit in front of my phone, talk, post it. And I would do that every Monday for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. Um, and that broke the wall down to actually start posting. From then, I took a little break, and then COVID happened, and
Early on, I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm just
yeah,
curious when you talk about you were just setting your phone down, talking to the camera in your room. Like, what kind of things were you talking about at that time?
yeah. So I would just pick a topic and really just, in a way, just share my perspective on certain topics. I guess like quote unquote motivational videos in a way, but this wasn't when it was
Okay.
very like, because now the social media space is all motivational driven. Like there's motivation is thrown out in a million different ways on the social media space. This is when it was kind of like not what it is. It was more so informational in a way, and it wasn't as like. So I was like, okay, I have a few guys that I follow that I really love what they do, and I see the impact they have. I want to have that impact too. And yeah, I mean, I was doing that. What didn't really gain much following from it, but that was what broke the wall down for me to start doing that. So I would literally just pick a topic, sit down in front of my camera, and just talk about it. And
Mhm.
sometimes it would take me hours to film, just because I would have to keep redoing and redoing, and I didn't really know much about editing and all that. And but that's how you learn. You just throw yourself into the fire, and it was so scary, especially after posting the first video, then going to the dining hall the next morning, and you just feel like everybody's staring at you, and you feel like they're all like judging you, and it's like Yeah, I vividly remember that day.
Mm,
And then yeah, so fast forward, I was just posting just my life on Instagram. It wasn't really anything crazy. Didn't really have much following. COVID came. I told myself when that happened, I was like, all right, I want to blow up my TikTok. Um, Probably within like 8 months, I got to 100,000 followers.
damn.
Just doing all crazy challenges and workout challenges and stuff like that. But there wasn't really much depth to it. It was just viral videos that just brought attention, that just brought eyes, because that's what I was doing on the e-commerce side of things. Selling products online, whatever it is, just to get the product out there and blast it out there. So virality was the key for it, and that's what I took into TikTok. But I'm like, I don't really like that. So then I stopped posting once I hit 100K. I stopped posting for months, and then I was like, let me actually take this into Instagram, and I started with ice bath videos. That was the first one that really kicked open the door. I think I had a video hit 20 million views on that, I think. And
Damn.
and from there came the, ice barrel partnership, and then other stuff came in from that. And then that kind of got the momentum going. But then I was like, I don't want to be known just for taking ice baths. I do a lot more than that. And so I shifted into, the fitness side of it, and that's where I've found my groove. And it took a while. It really does take a while. You could plan as much as you want, but it, your niche is going to be created the more you're diving into it. And I had a few videos go viral from my races, from training preps, from whatever it was. And yeah, fast forward to now, it's just me posting my life really and everything I do, and a lot of people resonate with that. I mean, obviously, not everything is out there. I keep certain things to myself, but things I think
Sure.
people should know to be fully transparent, then I will do that. And I really just ride on authenticity. That is probably the best compliment I could receive. If somebody's like, "Oh, you're very authentic," the content you do, and like that, it just means I'm still doing everything the right way. The biggest piece of advice I would say is have a backbone in terms of why you're posting, and don't fall off of that. If you know the backbone is true and you know it has good intentions behind it, no matter if the post goes viral, no matter if the post has 10 views, whatever it is, it's set with good intentions, and that is the basis of it all. That'll eventually get you to where you want to go, or in the direction where you're going, as long as you have that foundation. Because a lot of people deter off that as they kind of see success, and you'll see somebody on social media, and then you meet them in person, and they're just nothing like that at all, in a bad way almost, where it's like, oh, I don't even really want to talk to that person. And it's sad to see, but that's what happens when you do put yourself out there, because you don't realize how much of an effect other people have on you, and little comments and things like that, if you allow it though. So it just having a strong backbone, because people can really come at you in the comments, especially as you are posting yourself out there. And I know you have your experience with that too. Um,
Yeah,
I think it just happened recently too. I
sure.
think I think somebody commented something. I might have even commented something back on your post to the other guy. I'm pretty sure it was. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
all it's
Chirping.
again, as long as you have as long as you have the good intentions set of why you post, that's the biggest thing. And then that kind of is what I was riding
Yeah.
out. And just understanding I was doing a lot of things that scared a lot of people, the marathon, and then this and that. And yeah, I feel like I'm in a really good groove right now. So I'm very blessed to be
Good.
where I'm at. And then I'm actually I haven't really told anybody this, but I'm going to the city tonight to I just got an opportunity to work with Peloton for the next 3 months. So it's
Let's go.
it's
Congrats,
like,
dude.
thank
That's
you, man.
huge.
It's like, why is Peloton talking to me? It's like, and I'm still always going to be that way. Like, it's not, it's so crazy. But yes, I'm going to the headquarters, and we're doing like a creator summit, and I'm going to post about that within the next day or two. But yeah, working with them for the next 3 months. The Peloton treadmill just got delivered downstairs yesterday, so it's
Hell yeah.
crazy stuff, man. It's wild, and I know you have your experience with everything too. And it's you can't be anything but blessed just to be in this position. So it's you don't go into the space looking for that though. That's why it's so shocking when I saw an email from them, and I'm like, I gotta sign an NDA. Like, who is this? Like, like, what's going on here? Obviously, it's okay to be public about it now, but yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. Just super blessed to be where I'm at and have the impact I have on people. And um, it's very fulfilling in a way. When you do something, and it does have an impact on somebody, and they let you know that. Even if they don't let you know, there's a lot of eyes watching. There's a lot of people watching, no matter
Yeah.
where you go, no matter what you do. And there's either people watching hoping you succeed or people watching to see if you fail, and I'm kind of grateful for both, because either way I'm going to have an impact on them. If they're waiting for me to fail and I don't, then that might change something in them. And if they're waiting for me to succeed and I do, they're going to use that as fuel to their fire and just keep going, and chase something else. So yeah, very grateful to be where I'm at right now for sure.
Very well said. Is that Peloton collaboration? I've seen some things. Some of the other homies in the space have posted about the road to New York City Marathon. Is that kind of what the campaign is with Peloton, or is it different?
No, they haven't really mentioned that. I don't think that's it. So right now they're just bringing me. They're
Okay,
bringing me on as a creator basically for Peloton. Just
cool,
certain creatives for
cool,
them using their equipment, whatever they need. Kind of, I'm part of that team, and then I'm gonna get a better rundown of it this weekend. So I'm going tonight. I'm
cool.
staying over Friday night, and then I'm coming home. Well, Saturday morning, I got to wake up at like 5, Uber to Jersey City, run the race, and then Uber back for a Peloton class at 12. So it's a little bit of a busy weekend, but I'm excited, man. I'm gonna figure all that out this weekend, and then I'll post all about it. And yeah, crazy stuff, man. My mom's had the Peloton for years
Sick.
now, and it's crazy.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what that looks like when you post it, man. One thing I did want to ask is we were just messaging trying to coordinate for the pod, and you messaged me and you were like, "Yeah, I'm taking the next couple days off IG. If you need to reach out, hit me here." I'm just curious, do you do that a lot, where you just take time off social and IG, or what was the thought process behind that?
Yeah. Yeah, no, so I'm obviously gonna be 100% transparent. I just felt like my kind of life has been kind of like there's hasn't really been much coordination and much balance. It's been very hectic. I haven't felt myself at all for a bit. I haven't just been, and this is outside of social media, just me personally. There's been a lot that's been going on that I haven't really had a grasp on, and I just felt as if the only constant in life, which is time, I feel like I didn't have any control of when I would do things, how I would do it, and why I would do it. So I needed to peel back from certain areas. And truthfully, like just a 2-day reset from Instagram, I feel like I could breathe a little bit. It's not that it was Instagram is the problem, but
Cool.
you don't realize just how much time kind of is incorporated with all that, and it definitely brought up the productivity in other areas too. So I do throw it in once in a while, um, whenever needed. Just to also know that I can take time away from it. Not that I'm addicted to it or anything, but just being okay with that. And it's not a business. It's me. It's just a video documentation of my life. Um, I just needed a little bit of a break from everything. So I kind of stepped back for these last 2 days and kind of took time for myself, which I don't usually do, but definitely is needed once in a while.
Good, good. I'm glad you did that. Thank you for sharing too, and
Mm-hmm.
being transparent about that, man. And that's something that I can take notes on too, because I need to do that every once in a while for sure. It just gets very consuming when you get in the process, and it's really good, man, when you can just find that flow where like posting comes easy. You don't really have to think about it. It just kind of comes naturally, and hopefully the growth comes with that too, and other opportunities like Peloton and shit like that. But man, I'm so excited for you. What a crossroads for you right now. Like so many exciting things happening. I can't wait to watch the next couple months unfold. Thank you so much for your time this morning, brother. I appreciate you. If people, for any reason at this point, aren't already following you, where can they keep up with you and watch the journey?
Yeah, so most of it is really on Instagram, Matt_Zelaya. And then I will be posting a lot more not a lot more, but I'll be posting all long form documentation to my YouTube, which is just Matthew Zelaya. It's really just to show a lot more that goes on in these races. I still have to post from High Rocks earlier this year. There's no set schedule. I'm not posting every week, but it's whenever I feel ready to, I will post it. And it's going to be an in-depth video of just as much information as possible that doesn't have the time frame I could put in on Instagram. So those two spots would probably be best. Instagram, you could DM me. I'll see every DM. I always answer everything. I'm never too big for anybody. I don't want the number to scare anybody off from ever asking a question. So I'm an open book, and you can reach out to for whatever you need.
Bro, another thing we didn't even get to, but want to jam with you on YouTube things because I'm starting to go all in on the YouTube side of things as well. Obviously, on the backside of Boston, we got to run it back. We'll have a part two maybe, and we'll get into all of that. But appreciate you again, homie. Thank you so much for the time, and we'll see you in the next one. That's the pod. Thank you. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please do us a favor and subscribe, like, comment, share, all of the above. We're trying to reach more people who are interested in that casually ambitious lifestyle, and you're going to help us do it. Thank you so much. Again, we appreciate you, and we'll see you in the next one.